Perfect. All right, thank you. You're all set.
Good evening. My name is Mitch Goldblatt. I am the chairman of the Orange Recycling Committee. This is the regular meeting of the Orange Recycling Committee on September 16th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We are utilizing Zoom technology, but we are also broadcasting live and recording on OGAT. We thank OGAT for their assistance in making this happen. We do have one member of the public, but I believe we're going to address him in the meeting itself. Is there any other person from the public that would like to speak at this time? If not, we will move on to the approval of the minutes of August 19th. Are there any?
Mitch, I just wanted to get the official time you're calling the meeting to order.
Oh, by my watch, it'd be about 7:08.
Okay, done.
Thank you, Mark, our diligent secretary. Speaking of our diligent secretary, is there any additions or corrections to the minutes of August 19th?
None that I saw.
You wrote them, you wouldn't see any.
Exactly.
But what about the July minutes?
July meeting should have already been approved at the August meeting.
Sorry, I wondered why we got them. Okay,
Now we pass out the unapproved minutes from the most recent meeting and then the approved minutes
that's right.
for your records from the meeting before.
That's right. Thank you.
So
I move that the August meeting minutes be approved as presented.
thank you, Loretta. Motion by Loretta. Is there a second? Second by Wendy. Okay. We have a motion made and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes of of August 19th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mark, back to you for the treasurer's report.
Nothing has changed. We've not spent any money. We're still at $1,392.48. Waiting for our appropriation to be deposited maybe next month.
Okay, and we will have some expenses coming up during this meeting for sure.
Correct.
We do not have an update on the residential recycling participation rates. We usually have them by this time this month of the month. I have not received them yet from Public Works, so we'll probably have 2 months worth to look at next time around. Public Works has been working with us in other matters, but was unable to get us that information by tonight's meeting. So we're going to pick up with old business. And the first thing I want to talk about in old business is the signage at the transfer station. And what we have with us on this Zoom meeting is Peter Ivanov. And Peter is a Boy Scout working on a life project. And he approached first Ginny Reinhardt from the Historical Society, and Ginny said he was interested in doing a conservation project. And we talked about some concerns that Ginny had, I had at the transfer, we all had at the transfer station. And Peter readily agreed to help out. So I had met with him and his father a few weeks back at the transfer station. We discussed a few things that could be done in a project of this time and scope that he was looking to do. And if I was better with my screen share, I'd show you the picture that I think I always sent to people of what Peter did with the brush and leaf, with the plastic wrap sign that was confusing people. Because if you recall, once we got the new shed from Home Depot, we put back up the plastic bag and wrap sign, but it was on the banister that was next to, between that shed and the compartment trailer where we put the bottles and cans and papers. And to some it was confusing because it was right there and not specifically showing the shed. And we've talked about some changes there. And what our problem was, this particular shed didn't really have any place to affix that sign. But Peter came to the rescue. So Peter, do you want to explain what you did?
Yeah, I actually have the photo. So
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, good. I'd like to see it.
Would I be able to screen share? Would you want that, or?
Yeah, can you do that? Or
Yeah, because
Mitch, you have to give
Wait.
him, yeah.
No, I got it. Yeah, so this is you see it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So I before it was attached to a banister, which I have a picture of, but I have to send it to myself. Now I used angled brackets with bolts, nuts, and washers to mount it atop to the top. So I'm thinking like the only maintenance that will really have to be done would just be to make sure that the shed like stays there, and eventually it'll have to be it'll eventually have to be tightened over time. But other than that, I have two other things that I want to do. I want to move the sign, the one that this plastic bags and wrap sign was previously fixed to a new location where it can be easier to see. And then I'm gonna make a signpost with concrete and gravel.
Mm.
I met with Jerry this past Saturday, which was where did I have that, on the 12th,
Mhm.
where we discussed his dimensions and requirements for the concrete. I was gonna do it last Saturday, but I did not have time to, so I should be doing it. Really $10, maybe another 20, but I don't really need any reimbursement.
Okay, I put that on the agenda in case there were some significant expenses. I thought that the committee might be inclined to help out with the expenses that Peter has undertaken, but he is declining desire for any kind of reimbursement. You see what he's done with the one sign. The second one, we're just going to move from the back railing to the front railing. So when people come in, they'll see that first for the bottles, cans, and paper. And I also spoke to Jerry last weekend about the brush and leaf sign, which I think most of you know that Eileen had come up with a new design for, because the old one got destroyed in the back. So we had to come up with a new one anyway. But it was suggested that instead of coming up with a sign in the portrait format like the one you just saw, we come up with, instead of coming up with one in the landscape that you just saw, we've come up with one in the portrait format that Eileen did. Steve Selby from Fast Signs was able to turn that around pretty quick for us.
Wow.
The sign is at the transfer station. Peter is going to mount it, as he said. It probably will not go back in the back of the transfer station where the leaves and brush are for time being, because for the next 2 weeks they're doing grinding. And if you may recall, one of the things that damaged the sign in the first place was some grinding that shot out and, believe it or not, hit the sign and broke the previous sign. So Peter's going to get it all set and ready to go in the concrete so that it'll be stabilized. And then our public works staff has agreed when the grinding and chipping and grinding is done with, they will move the sign out to the location in the back. But, you know, I, for one, certainly want to thank Peter for coming forward, for doing this so efficiently, diligently, and quickly to help rectify two situations we have with signage out there. So I want to thank him for that. Any questions for Pete?
Nope. Thank you, Peter.
Nice
Thank
job.
you, Peter. Peter, is this sign that are you putting it in a concrete base so it can be moved around?
Yeah.
So when the grinding occurs, we can move it out of the way.
We're
The
not
sign.
going to move it in the first place until the grinding's done for this
Right,
season.
right.
But yeah, that's true, Lord. It could be moved.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah,
Peter,
it can-
Peter, you want to describe what kind of base you're making?
So the base is gonna be made with the plastic bin. The plastic bin is gonna be by like a 4 feet by 2.5 by about 2.5 feet. So that's gonna be filled with concrete, probably 6 to 8 inches high. I'm thinking that that the public works staff will have no problem moving it around because they have I forgot the name of it, but it's the one with the big scoop on the front. So
Yep.
I'm sure,
Taylor.
yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
So I'm sure that they won't really have any problem moving it around.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you very much. So along with this project, we did get the one sign done very quickly. You should have received in your packets there, I believe, I sent it along somewhere, the $77 charge from Fast Signs. So we are going to need a motion to approve the cost of the new brush and leaf sign.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mark makes a motion to approve.
I
Is there a
approve as
second?
well.
Okay, thank you. Pat seconds it. Any further discussion about paying the invoice for Fast Signs? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Mark, will you coordinate with the finance department to get that paid?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Nate, before you
So-
move on,
yes,
Eileen, could you send us a picture of your design?
It was in, Mitch sent it out in an email.
the second, I believe on the second email I sent out to all the committee, I believe it was attached.
It
Okay.
was attached. I saw it, yes.
Yeah, all right, I'll look it up, but thank you
Yeah,
so
a couple
much,
things.
Eileen, for doing that.
Welcome.
So staying with signage for, well, we'll come back to signage in a minute. So let's pick up with simple recycling. As you know, at our last meeting or from our last meeting, that the approval was given by the Board of Select for simple recycling. And that didn't end the issues because there are still issues. The first of which was to get a contract signed by the first selectman. Sonny Wilkins had sent a sample contract to the first selectman, who took it to the town attorney. And when we were getting no response for a couple of weeks, I called the town attorney. He got involved and took it to the top of the pile. So literally over Labor Day weekend, he and I, mostly he, worked on that contract and took some cleaned up some wording and stuff like that. Got back to simple recycling right after Labor Day weekend. It was signed by Simple and then later signed by the first selectman. So there is a contract now between the town and Simple Recycling, which I've sent you copies of the PDF copies of that contract for your records and also to look at. With that contract has led to some, I won't call them issues. Well, here's the good news. The good news is that even though we were not getting response from Goodwill about the trailer, Sylvie Napoli in the Public Works Department got involved, contacted Goodwill, and the long story short is the fact that Goodwill has sold the trailer that's up there at the transfer station to Simple Recycling.
Oh,
Simple Recycling is going to take over the existing trailer, and in fact, that happened today. Yesterday, the 14th of September, was the last day Goodwill cleaned out what they had in that trailer. As of this morning, the trailer was completely empty. It was also closed up. It should be opened up by tomorrow, but anything that is put into the trailer going forward will belong to Simple Recycling as opposed to Goodwill. We'll talk about the signage about that in a minute. So we're good to go, and Simple Recycling is good to go. I spoke to Sonny Wilkins again today. He's excited to get started. Next up is High Plains.
wait.
Sorry, go ahead, Loretta. Yep.
So I have a couple questions on the contract. It says clothing and shoes. They don't mention other textiles that they'll collect.
Right. It was written that way, but we know what the items are, and the items are going to be outlined both in our news articles that we're putting out and the publicity we've put out already.
Okay.
And we're also going to work on a sign for the side of that trailer that will be more specific. So
Perfect. And then I have one more question. What is
Yep.
this word MAJEURE? Is that French?
force majeure,
Yes.
that's if there's a hurricane or an
Oh,
earthquake.
so that's a law term or something?
Yeah, it is a legal term that usually absolves one party or the other
Okay,
for things that are outside of their control.
thank you.
You're welcome. So next up is High Plains. Simple Recycling is getting together a drop box for that. We just have to determine where it's going to go. That's between the first selectman and Simple Recycling. It's been agreed that the It'll probably go somewhere near where the dumpster and the recycling bin are already, in the back of High Plains, sort of towards the senior center area. But we don't have an exact location. When he gets an exact location from the first selectman or from probably John Stewart at High Plains, that'll be placed there, and we'll put some publicity out about that too, so people know that they can drop off at High Plains. The issue with the schools has been a little bit more murky. I understand that the discussion of this was brought up to the Board of Education. There was no conclusion brought to it. There's still no conclusion because of the fact that technically the town owns the property where the schools are, but the Board of Education runs the schools. So there's been some confusion and some, like I say, murkiness as to whose decision it is for the containers to go on the school lots. It's going to be come up again at next Monday's Board of Education meeting, I'm told. I've spoken to the chairman of the board. I've spoken to at least one other board member. Hopefully I've answered some questions. I'm willing to answer more questions. And so is Sonny Wilkins. So we're hoping to get, quote unquote, buy-in from the school so we can put the containers also at the school so people can access them when, going to the schools, dropping children off or picking children up, or on weekends and evening time when school isn't in session and neither is the transfer station, and give another outlet for people to drop off. So that issue is still an open one being worked on, and Sonny is having discussions with the first selectman and with the school board on that as well. The next thing is we discussed at our last meeting, the houses of worship. So the question is, I spoke to Sonny Wilkins about that. He is more than happy to put a container at any of the houses of worship that are willing to have them in their lots, as long as there's no contract. In other words, there's not going to be anything provided to the particular house of worship. And also, if it's not working out, they'll just take it out, if it's not being utilized. So the question I leave to the group now is, I think it was Loretta, I'm going to put on her, willing to contact some of our houses of worship in town to see if they are willing to allow for a container for simple recycling. Loretta, you
Yes,
volunteer?
I'm willing to do it. I would need to know two things, a list of all the houses of worship. Do I get that from town hall?
Yeah, if you don't get it from town hall, there's some other publications that I think have it that I can work with you on to find that.
Okay, and then secondly, the size of the container, because I think probably
Right.
that.
Right, and I will get that information from Sonny. He's got to provide that to the Board of Education as well.
Okay,
And we'll get that information. But if you, I think most people are at least familiar with the size of it. Will be very similar to the boxes you see in other parking lots around town and around the country, all over the place. Where you see clothing and shoe collections.
Yeah.
That would be one of the places you would see that.
sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'm looking to both Loretta and her articles, and I saw the article today, very good, in the Milford Orange Times, and also to Eileen towards helping out with some publicity, more publicity now that and we can roll out the publicity as things roll out. So we can roll out like tomorrow that the transfer station, even though the signs will still say Goodwill for a while, anything put in those that box at the transfer station will be going to Simple Recycling. Money will be going to the town, and urge people to frequent that. And then when we roll out to High Plains and the schools and the houses of worship, if we are able to do so, roll out additional publicity.
Do we
So
want
like
to, how much they're paying us a month?
$115 a ton.
Right, but do we want to say that in the article?
Sure.
Okay, I think people like to know that,
Yeah.
and say that Goodwill didn't pay anything.
Well, you don't have to rub that in, but yeah, it's true.
Or they cleared out the hopper, or they cleared out their bin. They threw everything in the hopper, right? Goodwill.
No, I don't know, but the bin is cleared out. Okay.
Starting,
Uh,
starting Saturday? Or no?
Well, it really starts tomorrow. but,
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Starting immediately, I'll say.
right.
Thank
Which brings us to not just the publicity external, but the publicity internal. Eileen had put together a couple of 3 different signs on that I had sent out to everyone. One would be the smaller sign that would go right on the entranceway. We would have the Goodwill sign removed, and the one that shows the T-shirt that says textiles. To say, Eileen, textiles, something like that. Textiles and toys, games, whatever it said.
Goods or something.
Shoes. To put that on the incoming sign.
you.
We would then replace the sign that's magnetized right now, I believe, to the Goodwill, to the trailer, replace the Goodwill sign there with one that says the same thing, textiles, etc. And then we need a banner that would replace the one that says the Goodwill banner with what's taken, a banner that would show with the Simple Recycling logo, as well as the items that are taken, which goes beyond just clothes and shoes for sure. And I ran Eileen's design past Sonny Wilkins at Simple Recycling, and he was very pleased with it and thought it would be great, and is very appreciative of our initiative in helping out with getting those signs produced and getting them paid for. So, Loretta.
So they're not willing to pay for the signs? They're,
They didn't offer, and I didn't ask at this point. I thought it might be, within our purview, since we've really pushed for this and we do have some money to go ahead with that. Goodwill did not pay for the signs that we put up for them.
Mhm.
Goodwill did put up that banner, but I think it would be in our, best interest if we could potentially replace that banner ourselves with Eileen's design, and
Mhm.
Sonny was very appreciative of that. So with that, I guess at this point, I'm going to need some discussion or a motion for us to engage with Fast Signs to replace the signs they've already made with the ones that Eileen has put together. I'm going to have to get him the dimensions of the banner sign to go on the side of the trailer. But we want to get moving on that as soon as possible if the committee is willing. So is there a motion to approve going forward with the signage at the transfer station for Simple Recycling? Eileen, is that a motion?
Yes.
I have a motion too.
And a second by Pat. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to engage Fast Signs for 3 signs. One is for the one in the entrance. One is going to be magnetized at the on the trailer itself, and the third one will be the banner showing what with their logo and what they are accepting in the trailer. So motion's made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Fantastic. Motion carries. I'll be in touch with Steve Selby tomorrow to get that started. That's great.
Who's doing the measuring of the dumpster?
I'll probably send Steve out there himself.
Oh, good.
I think he's going to want to take a look at the sign he needs to replace with Goodwill, and I'd rather he take a look at it because it's not only going to be what the size is, but how it's going to be affixed.
Mhm.
So he may want to take a look and may have another idea on either making it a little larger, a little smaller, a little wider, so it fits better against the side of that trailer. So I'm going to ask him to go forward with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Now, before we leave the entire topic of signage at the transfer station, Eileen had made up some other signs concerning what to do with the wraps and making sure things go in the right place. I'm not sure, and I'll leave it to the committee. Do we want to go forward with those instructional signs right now, or do we want to see first how effective Peter's project of moving the signs around helps us out? I don't know, what's the feeling? There's no rush on this, but if we want to do it right now, we can do it now too. Peter, your thoughts? You want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think the challenge will be to put signs in areas where they're not going to be messed up when it's time to snowplow.
That is a challenge for sure.
Mhm, mhm.
And if we put too many signs on the railing, I'm not sure they all get read, but that's okay. Now, we do have one there now. It says no plastic bags in that trailer.
I think we
Thoughts?
need another one,
Eileen?
at least one more other one. The ideas that Mitch is talking about were on page 2 of that PDF. If anybody looked at it, where the simple recycling stuff was on page 1, page
Right.
2, where there were a few different options.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm open to other ideas, but it seems like we need to make it clearer that people should, if they have a plastic bag filled with cans and bottles, they should just dump the contents into the bin and then put the bag elsewhere rather than throwing the whole thing in. So that's what we're trying to convey here.
You had that on one of your signs, right? I think I saw that you said dump it out, which is good.
Yeah. I made a few different variations of words and sizes and shapes. And of course, if anybody has any other ideas, then
That looked
whatever you think.
That looked good when I saw it. And I think the idea too of the signage on top of the shed was great, because the other way it was too confusing. It really, if you're looking at it real quick, which is all people are going to do, they're just going to throw it in there. So I think the way it looks now is pretty good. But I also like the idea of, dump it out and then put it into the shed. It looked good when I saw it.
Pat, are you being held hostage again?
Are you kidding me? There's nobody around. I couldn't be
Are
happy.
you being held hostage again?
No, I'm outside. I'm happy.
Oh, okay. It looks very
Dark.
Nobody's yelling at me.
sort of
No, don't get me.
NCIS-ish in the background there.
I couldn't be
Based
happy.
on the lighting.
I'm just worried about Wendy because she looks like she's falling asleep.
Oh no, I'm right with you.
Loretta, what's up?
Again, I'm looking at Eileen's signs. I think they're terrific. But Pat, I don't see one that says dump the contents out and then put the plastic bags in the dumpster. They all
No,
say,
they don't say that, right?
Well, one of them says empty items into bin, put all plastic bags in shed.
oh, really? I don't see that. Oh, am I?
It's on that page
There
2.
it is. There it is.
There's 6 different options there, Loretta.
Yes, and I see it. I just found it because the empty items is a little bit small. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to change the words if somebody has a way to say it better. Like,
No.
be a dumbass, put the bags in the thing. Whatever.
Careful,
anybody
you're on
thinks
television.
I'm glad I
I think
that, I'm glad that it's there. I think that's very important. Empty items into bin. I like that sign. The others are really good, but this is what we want them to
Yeah,
do.
because you still see way too much of that. It drives you nuts when you look down on there and you see all those recyclables in the plastic. It drives you nuts.
Yes, I do get calls about that regularly. I will say that Ginny Reinhardt, who helped us with getting Peter involved, is one who calls me pretty much weekly about that. Peter, you want to say something?
I mean, there's really not much to say, but I do think that the best idea or best way to kind of approach this is to continue making portable stands, or even buying some that are made with much more dense materials. So that way you don't have to really deal with worrying about snow plows. And I just think that's the best way to approach it. And sometimes you can take advantage of mounting stuff on, but that will have to be done in very specific areas. And you just can't mount stuff onto everything because they have to pick it up too.
Yep. Well, I think the signs that Eileen was coming up with would either go on the rail right where you have already remove one sign, right where you're removing the signs. So it'd be on the rail that now is between the two bins, or if we can fit it on the rail that's right at where it says, bottles, cans, and paper, or, no plastic bags, we put it on that one too. I'm not sure exactly where it would fit at this point, but I'm not sure what the thoughts are. Go ahead, Eileen.
Maybe we make two signs, one that goes on that railing and then one that's freestanding in a cement block.
Well, the problem with the cement block is the snow plowing issue, and it gets pushed around. I mean, I think we're better off having such signs affixed to, there's enough railing, there's 3 sides of railing there. So I think there's enough railing for us to find spots for 1 or 2 signs, if we feel it's necessary and it's become something's necessary, without having somebody. What my real solution is to have an attendant there, but I don't get support for that. So
Right, we should have somebody at the end of the day climb down there and open them themselves and do it.
Yeah.
Probably not a lot of takers for that one.
No.
We were going to do that, right?
Well, yes, Loretta was volunteering to be there on Saturday mornings and be the recycle police.
Not every Saturday, we were going to take turns.
Yeah, we're still thinking about that. I mean, it's also, do we get in the way? I don't know. But believe me, I've approached enough people. I've also watched people and hold my breath when they drop out the bag. And I was there last week, and somebody did that, and they held on to the plastic bag and then put it in the shed. I was like applauding.
Mitch, if you see that again and you're comfortable going up to the person, get like a little 5-second video of them doing that.
Okay.
or if not a video, even some pictures, but just anything like that. Because I can.
Well, we could do that. I mean, we could stage that,
True.
and you could put it on Facebook, because I'm not sure people want you doing that.
Yeah.
But we could
stage it for sure.
We could stage it, and then you could put it on your page if you.
It's a great idea.
Right. I'll be the director. Mark will be the star.
There you go.
That's good.
All right. Sounds like a plan. So back to the signage. What do we want to do with that at this point? Do we want to 1 sign, 2 signs, no signs? What's the thoughts of the committee?
Well, I do believe one additional sign for sure is needed. Which one we will have to probably vote on and go forward, I would say, at another time, but definitely one more sign.
I think 2 more signs, 1 for each side, and they're not that expensive, so I think and we have this money, I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Peter, you got your hand up. You're so polite. Go ahead.
I do. I think that since I'm moving one of the posts to kind of attach it to the front rail, you could probably add the sign there later whenever you get it.
To the front rail or the back? I think I was thinking at the back rail between the 2, and then one on the one that you face when you throw into the hopper, and use that front rail. Use that front rail as you and I discussed, so that people, when they're driving in, will see right there that that's the place for bottles, cans, and paper. All right. Do people want to vote on a design tonight, or they want to leave it to the a subcommittee to get this going, or what's the thoughts?
I say we vote because Eileen made some beautiful signs.
Loretta, you're so kind.
See,
Loretta, make a motion then.
yes, I move that we use Eileen's sign that's in the lower right-hand corner, the one that says empty items into bin. Put all plastic bags in shed. I like that.
I like that one too. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember seeing it. It looked pretty good.
And that's what you were talking about, Patrick.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Well, I'll be a second.
Okay, Pat seconds. All right, any further discussion? Does everybody feel comfortable? The motion is to buy 2 signs with the instructions about the bags that Loretta just identified.
So we're gonna have the one sign that Loretta picked, but make 2 signs of it.
2 copies.
Exactly.
2 copies.
Two identical signs. indicating that the plastic bags need to be separated. And with the verbiage that she mentioned, unless there's any last minute changes, but I think we've pretty much decided that.
No, I think that's good.
All right, motion made. Is there a second? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Great.
Mark and I
that's it.
will go over there one day to film this little, potentially viral video. And I'll get an idea of maybe some recommendation of what size it should be, because I didn't really think about that.
Okay. Very good. Next up in the agenda is the Orange Recycling Committee Annual Report from 2019, 2020. I put together a report for our last meeting that was sent to you. Eileen took a look at it, and actually, I take that back. I did not send it at the last meeting. I said I would do it between last meeting and this meeting. I did put together a report as instructed from the First Selectman's Office for the annual report. I have sent it off to my proofreader, Eileen Moyer, who made some suggested changes, which I've accepted, and I believe the accepted report from Eileen is been sent to you as far as the materials for this meeting. So are there any additions or corrections to that, or is there a motion to approve that so we can submit it?
Have a question?
I read it. I didn't see anything to add.
Okay,
Anybody else?
No, but I do have a question.
sure.
You talked about the Woodbridge Sustainability Committee.
Right.
You met with them. Do we have a report on that?
No, they just came and got ideas of what we do here.
They came.
They've been in touch, one of the members has been in touch with me a few times with some other questions about what we do and how we do it. But I just thought it was important that we include that as one of the things that, took place in the past year that was of significance.
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't understand they came here. That's
Yeah, they met at the transfer station on a Saturday. They carpooled. It's before COVID. They carpooled, and we had a little meeting there and took them for a little tour of our transfer station, and especially how we have separated things out. And they were, for the most part, impressed. Hopefully, they took some things back to Woodbridge.
some of our trash.
Yeah. Is there a motion then? If there's no changes?
Make a motion to approve.
And Mark makes a motion to approve the annual report from 2019, 2020, the Orange Recycling Committee. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Eileen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. The tour of Oak Ridge is still put off as COVID continues, but I just want to leave it on the agenda as we continue to just discuss it and keep it in our back of our minds. Has Waste Day for October 3rd, 2020. I have been in touch with the Regional Water Authority, Lori Vitigliano, and they are going to have Clean Harbors continue what they've been doing throughout the pandemic, which is to have their personnel help out with the assisting of the residents coming through. Thus, for those who were signed up for October 3rd, you're off the hook because they're still not utilizing volunteers. They did thank us for reaching out to them to make sure if they needed them or not, which I did, and assured them that we'd be ready and willing to go next year back in the saddle with helping out with the Has Waste Day. So just to be clear, Has Waste Day continues every Saturday through the end of October. But our participation to volunteer twice this year has now been not necessary because the Clean Harbors people are taking care of those roles. So leads us up to October 17th, which is our big shredding day. Things are in place. Mark, we're going to need a check while you're getting checks out of the finance department. We'll need a check for Affordable Solutions. We'll have to get that amount to you offline because I don't have it on the top of my head. We'll talk about that. We'll need that
Okay,
check.
you'll send me an invoice or have
Yeah,
Jim send-
I'll Joe send an invoice.
Invoice.
And then we'll get reimbursement from the Rotary Club. So that should end up being washed. The Rotary Club sponsors it. The check comes from the town, which means from our kitty. So what I've instructed people, and Loretta did a great job in the Milford Orange Times this week. We are going to go forward with Shredding Day. The Rotary Club will be helping us. We're asking people to, and this is going to take some help with our committee, to be there to help to keep the cars in line and just pop the trunk, sort of like they do at Has Waste Day. Pop the trunk or open the back doors so that we can just take out the items for shredding and shred them without the occupant of the car or truck getting out of their vehicle. This is obviously for COVID purposes and having less contact with anybody from the public. And I look for as many volunteers who will help us on October 17th. I'm counting on everyone being there unless somebody tells me they can't be there. We appreciate all the help we can get, and it may be a little bit more challenging this time to make sure we're directing traffic as best we can. I have also been in touch with the Bye Bye Mattress people and the Lions Club, and they're on board for picking up mattresses, $10 each. Call Ken Lenz, 203-795-3906. I've got that one memorized. Call Ken from the Lions Club if you want a mattress or box spring picked up. It's $10. If you don't want to pay the $10 and want to drag the mattress or box spring yourself, that's all fine and dandy. There will be a truck there to take the mattresses and box springs from Bye Bye Mattress for complete recycling. They're all set for October 17th, 9 to noon, High Plains as well. Where we ran into a bit of a snag is with the Orange Community Women. They will not be collecting household items. The reason is because they were selling, well, they were getting money from Savers for that. Unfortunately, Savers has discontinued that due to COVID right now. So they have no outlet for those items to get any kind of money. So that will not be taking place. I did get an email from a resident that suggested we also do bottle and can collection. But I'm unaware of a group that's willing to redeem bottles and cans for a purpose. It was suggested possibly the Boy Scouts, Friends of the Library. If someone were to step forward and wanted to do that, I suppose we could. But at this point, I'm not aware of any group willing to take that on unless Loretta's raising her hand saying yes. Loretta.
Just for that day? People can-
Yeah, just for that day, have people bring bottles and cans. We'd have to have containers to put them in. And if someone was willing to do so, we'd have to change our publicity a little bit. But I told that person I would bring the information to their suggestion to our committee. I wasn't sure it would work for this particular time because of COVID, people getting out of cars and things like that. Running our, I'm a little concerned about the traffic patterns as it is, but I'm bringing it to the committee for suggestions and thoughts. Loretta.
Why would they bring bottles and cans to us when the transfer station's there? I'm a little confused.
for
Well,
tip-
the idea was to bring redeemable bottles and cans as part of the whole shredding day mattress collection, make a bottle and can collection so that instead of those being sent to Oak Ridge, that some organization would take all of them and then redeem them, themselves at a redemption center or supermarket to make money for their own organization.
Okay.
Just another
Mitch-
charitable thing.
Got it.
Does the organization need to be centered in Orange?
I think it would be important that it is, since we're making this from the Orange Recycling Committee. I think it'd be the best thing to do to reach out to Orange organizations that might be willing to do that. If no one steps forward, we could, think about going elsewhere. Like I said, this particular one, I'm not sure, it may get a little daunting, but I'm willing to listen. Loretta, you had your hand up also?
Yes, if you don't find an organization in town, I am the president of a 501c3 charity that supports a school for orphans and vulnerable children in Kenya. And I collect bottles and redeemable stuff. I've been doing that for probably 10 years or more. And the money all goes to a school there that we support. So I'm thrilled to take them if this comes about.
Wendy, what was your thought from an outside source?
Well, I know that they are doing it because I saw a church in Milford did it this past weekend.
Oh.
So, I know that organizations, or at least that one, is doing it. If you wanted to know if you know, people are shying away from it or whatever. I mean, I know that youth group did it.
Right. Like I said, I still, would like to do something would benefit an orange organization that might be willing to step forward. Maybe somebody's watching this tonight, or recorded. And
What
will
about
contact me.
the Boy Scouts? Are they interested in doing that? The troop that.
Peter, any idea?
Well, there are always scouts getting kind of like going up the ranks and eventually needing to do projects. So I could probably think of a few people, but you'd really have to talk to them, and I could probably give you contact details. But
Sure. If you want to send, you've got my email. If you want to send that to me, that's fine.
yeah. All right.
Peter, what troop do you belong to? The Woodbridge one?
Troop 12 in Milford.
Oh, in
So,
Milford. Okay.
yeah, but I live in Orange, so.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not sure where we left off with the bookmarks that we were thinking of giving out. And at this point, I'm not sure it's even worth pursuing. Once again, having less contact. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on that. I'm seeing a shaking of the head saying, let's forget it.
Yeah, I think the last thing it was left up, Amy was going to do some designs, and I don't know that we ever saw anything.
No, I did not. So I don't know where it ended up either. Okay, so we'll pass on that.
I commented on it, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't need giveaways when we don't have events.
Right. And at this point, we'll hold off until next time we really have more personal contact with people, I think. Is there any other old business to come before the committee tonight?
Again,
Loretta?
just very briefly, I would like to thank Wendy. She sent me a whole list of tips for recycling and suggesting that maybe in the publicity, we could do one tip a month or something. And I think that's an excellent idea. So I thank Wendy for that. And I hope under new business, we can talk a little bit more about that because I had some thoughts on that too.
Okay. Well, you've got it right now. Talk right now. It's okay.
God, what were the thoughts? But do you remember, this is awful, about just involving people more, asking people how do they recycle? This could be done through Facebook or through my article. If they have any tips on recycling, just getting more involvement from the town, because Wendy pointed out to me that she felt that we need to do, isn't that right, Wendy? Do more in that, with that respect?
Well, it's just a thought that I had, that we maybe could do more public education or involvement or whatever besides, just what we do among ourselves, But it does get difficult because unfortunately, it entails specific products or, ways to do that. And you can't promote that. But if we can figure out how to promote the idea, then maybe, people can figure out how to get the resources. You know what I mean?
Yes, if we put a tip in, could we ask in the column if people have other ways they recycle besides what we're saying? And maybe I could put my email in there and get emails and then include them in future columns.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
I mean, my thought too was not only about recycling, but just about, all the ways that you could actually use less plastic, not just recycling the plastic, not just having more plastic made for, billions of landfills, but reducing the actually amount of plastic.
You're right. Using less is actually almost more important in a way, just having less.
Yep. Yes.
I have two comments on that. First, instead of Loretta, your personal email address in the newspaper, just my opinion, probably not a great idea. And we do have the email address for orangerecycles@gmail.com. So I'm just using that one.
All right.
And then Wendy, I really liked your ideas and I responded back to your email. And I was wondering if you would be interested in occasionally just writing up a few posts, like 1 to 3 sentences at most, with a link to a website that would refer to it, and then send it to me and I could post it on Facebook.
Oh, if I send it to you, sure, I'll try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
great. It doesn't have to be formatted in any particular way, but you know, I can tell you have some very good thoughts on it. So write them in a way that, you know, what makes sense to you, and then I will share them.
But
Because
the
I
problem
can
with the links is the link would be to a product and we can't promote
no,
that.
we can't, but I mean, we can say, you know, a concept such as this.
Mhm.
We're not promoting we're not saying buy this product, but just to get your creative juices flowing, here is some ideas that are already out there, or something to that effect.
That's
Okay.
great. Thanks, Wendy. Yes, Peter.
Thank you, Wendy.
Before I have to go, I was suggesting that you could probably, like, not even, I mean, you can use a lot of different household things that you pick up and use them for different household goals. Like, you can use your plastic bags, if you still have them, to do something for gardening or for just organization in general. It's because people are still gonna get stuff regardless of whether you try to encourage not to. It's kind of been that way for a long time. So you gotta, I guess the best way to do it would be to kind of encourage just thinking about reusing.
Yep.
Peter,
Absolutely.
do you follow the Orange Recycling Committee on Facebook?
No, I don't have Facebook, so no.
Okay. I was gonna say, please feel free to comment if you did.
Okay. Anything else under old business? If not, I've got one item under new business. I attended a virtual discussion called Trash 101 that was hosted by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. And there's a lot going on in the state of Connecticut about trash and recycling. There were 4 different speakers. A lot of towns do pay as you throw, which means you pay for what you toss out, which encourages recycling from that standpoint. There was discussion about the whole, what they call the Chinese sword that has reduced the amount of material being recycled going overseas to China. It was all kinds of things. It was mostly, though, it wasn't all doom and gloom. It was mostly upbeat, but there was one presentation of the 4 that spoke specifically towards the recycling. It was a fairly quick presentation. I don't have the actual recording of it that I can share, but I was able to get a hold of the presentation. I was going to share my screen and flip through it for you just to see what else is being talked about and being shared with a lot of municipal leaders throughout the state. So if question is now, do you see that?
No.
No. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is from Jennifer Heaton-Jones, who's the executive director of the Houstonic Resources Recovery Authority. And I thought you'd find this interesting to see that some of the issues that we have all the time are not just our issues. And the first slide is the unwanted and discarded. I mean, this is what happens in certain places when there's no place for it to go, or people don't have places for things to be discarded. We have a very fine operation at the transfer station where people are able to go. This is what can happen. It was interesting, she said, I don't have her exact quote, but it was something like, you know what? It doesn't matter if you are black or white, rich or poor, urban or suburban or rural. Everyone has one thing in common, and that is that everyone generates waste. And so it's something we all have in common. And it was one way of looking at it. We're all in this together, literally. Biggest question people want to know is when is trash day for around Orange and what's recycling day, so we know when to put out the bins. She wanted to make sure everyone had a course and decided on a direction. When I think that's what we do as a committee, is try to come up with some direction for people as to what they can do. Definitions: waste reduction, waste that never gets created, doesn't have any costs, or reducing the amount of materials entering the waste stream from a specific source by redesigning products or patterns of production or consumption, which is also synonymous with source reduction, which is along the same lines, reducing the amount of materials entering the waste stream from a specific source by redesigning products or patterns of production or consumption. For example, using returnable beverage containers, synonymous with waste reduction. So that was a pretty interesting. Whoops, let me skip ahead so much. So I can get to the right. Here we go. Get to the right screen. So solutions. One is, and this is an important one, extended producer responsibility. This is where the producer of the product takes some responsibility for recycling. We see that already at our transfer station with paint. We see it with mattresses. As you know, if you buy a mattress at a store, it'll be, potentially you're paying a cost or price for the recycling on top of buying the mattress. And if it's delivered, usually you can get the old one picked up, or not, we bring it to the shredding day. Thermostats, I was unaware of, that are being recycled by EPR, and also the electronic waste, which, as you all know and have seen, as well as part of at our transfer station, what we do there. Source separation programs. Textile recycling, simple recycling, what we're doing there. Organic collection, there's some real challenges ahead with that. I know some people compost, but that's certainly something that some towns have taken on in earnest, to set up areas at their transfer station or elsewhere for organics. The bag bans, literally changing human behavior. Plastic film, we're on top of that as well, I'm proud to say, as you know. And then deposit systems. The deposit systems, especially with cans and bottles, that is the most effective way of recycling any kind of cans, bottles, because it goes 100% without contamination back for recycling. I know people don't necessarily enjoy going to the redemption centers, but it is the #1 best way of making sure that the aluminum, that the glass does get recycled. Unit-based pricing, we don't do at this point, where people would pay. And then recycling right, which is reducing cost and helping increase value. I can get to the next slide. This was a very disturbing photo, but I think we can all relate to it. The truth about mixed recycling is typically it is dirty, with lots of bags, and mixed with unacceptable material. And if you look closely at that particular photo, you can see things that you can readily identify, mostly the plastic, that is mixed in with what we call mixed recycling, which is supposed to be bottles, cans, paper, cardboard, you know the drill. So the problems we're having at our area is not, we're not unique, but I like to think we're making some strides to get out of the unacceptables that happen. Why so much contamination? Her answer was a couple reasons. One is because of our education, which we're still doing ourselves. #2, incentives. There are not enough incentives, not enough disincentives, and just plain laziness. As you can see, you can look at that and know that cushion does not belong in a recyclable area. Other things, we've talked about this, we try to educate this. Prescription bottles and bottle caps. If the bottle caps are not attached to the bottles, they clog things up. Shredded paper absolutely should not be put in with recycling. If it's shredded, it goes with shredded paper, does not go with recycling. Batteries and other bits, as they call them, do not belong.
Mitch, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
As a reminder, what's the idea with the shredded paper? What was
The
behind?
shredded paper gets it's small. It gets tangled in the same way that plastic does.
Okay.
It's always shredded paper is already kind of pulled together, mashed together, and it just entangles the machinery,
Okay.
and it's not conducive to recycling. But good question, Pat. And here you go, Pat. This is why shredded paper, here you go, good segue. This is why shredded paper does not belong in the mixed stream. It should be recycled separately. And as we do with our shredding day, that's exactly what we do, is get it done separately. Can you guess what that is?
A pile of recyclables.
It is.
That is no good, and they're going to have to throw in the trash.
Well, yes and no. It is mostly recyclables. The problem is it's supposed to be glass.
Oh, wow.
And that's, part of the issue as well. Propane tanks literally can be bombs. They are metal. They do not belong in recycling. They are not acceptable recyclable material, except at our transfer station. We do collect propane tanks separately in the back next to the metal pile. But some people throw helium tanks and propane tanks in with recycling, thinking it's a metal can, but it is a problem.
Wow.
Another word I learned was tangles. Cords, wires are also not recyclable, should be thrown away, and also add cost to everything that was done. Dead plants in the recycling stream just doesn't make sense. The plastic pot, maybe. The plant itself, absolutely not.
Compost.
People think it's just going to go away, and it's not. And the answer is it starts and ends at the curb. Her presentation, I was very impressed with about, it starts and ends with everybody doing what they do at their own home, how they throw things in the garbage here, or recycle things properly. And so, like I say, I was pretty impressed, and that's for information. I wanted to bring that to you, and also show it on OGAT for people to see as well. So
That was good, Mitch. Thank you.
that is my bit of as you say, new business.
It's just one question about that presentation. I think you said that the tangles, all the cords. I thought that cords and cables are allowed to be put into our electronics recycling bin.
In the
No?
electronic, yes, but not as part of the quote unquote blue bin recycling.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
That's separate for e-waste. Yeah. Just like the dead plant could go in organics and composting, but this was concentrating on the issue of what goes into the recycling plants. So,
And also, can you share that presentation so I can steal some of the pictures? I mean, borrow for the Facebook.
sure. I will send it over to you.
That's what I was gonna suggest, if that could be posted again or reposted.
Well,
Yeah, the whole
I can send it over. You might want to, Eileen, if you're going to post it, you may want to contact Jennifer. Her information's at the bottom of the last slide that she put up.
Okay.
But I was very impressed with her presentation. She spoke much more eloquently than I did tonight, but it got right to the point. And the pictures tell 1,000 words.
Mhm.
So,
Spoke very well.
thank you. Is there any other new business to come before the committee tonight? If not, is there a and Stephanie, I see you there as part of our public. Was there anything you needed to add? I know you came in a little bit late. No? Okay. Thanks for joining us tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Loretta, second?
I'll second.
Second, Pat. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. This meeting is adjourned at about 8:14, and I will say that I hope to see everybody October 17th, which is prior to our next meeting. So if there's any questions that come up in the meantime, please let me know either by text, by email, by phone, whatever. But pray for good weather and a lot of people showing up with their materials to be shredded, as well as the mattresses. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Aye.
Mr. Kraut asked me to bring it up to the board was that part of the agreement that was actually notated after the vote had been taken by the Board of Selectmen was that collection bins would be placed at each of the elementary schools. So that would allow participation by teachers, parents, families that maybe don't go to the transfer station where the main collection